welcome back to Color Break, your third favorite comic book podcast. This is issue number 15. I'm your co-host, Cody Collects. I'm here as always with my good friend, Comic Book Stash. How you doing, buddy?
How's it going, bud? Just here, another episode, another time sitting in my room talking to you.
That's true. That's true. We do that a lot. But we're here with a special guest. We've got Breyden Boyd, co-founder of Shape Comics. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. The weather's starting to warm up a little bit, right? I'm sure, Christian, you're just living, it's probably like 70 down there.
Where are you, Christian?
I'm in Florida. I can say exactly how much it is, buddy. Because it's 80 right now.
Man.
It is a crisp 70 degrees in Norman, Oklahoma. It's beautiful out here.
That is very appealing. I would love it to be that.
It was a beautiful walk home. I was listening to some Third Eye Blind.
Nice. Nice, dude.
Yeah.
All right.
You know what I will say? I had like 2 months where my AC was broken, and that kind of like just made me immune to the heat.
Right. It's like
now
like a mutant.
Yeah. I'll be wearing a sweater any day in Florida, and people are
you're
like,
heat resistant.
People are like, "Wow, it's hot," and I'm like, plus I'm from Ecuador. Like the coldest it'll get in Ecuador, it's like the movie theater. That's
the
it.
Movie theater, yeah. Nice.
The movie theater?
Yeah, you go to the movie theater, you put a sweater on.
It's cold. That's a universal constant. It's cold in Ecuador. It's cold in the States. It's cold everywhere.
But,
all right, but listen, we're not here to talk about the weather. Christian.
No.
Not here to talk about the weather. We've got Breyden on, a special guest. Like I said, co-founder of Shape Comics. But before we get into all the Shape Comics stuff, right? We just want to know about you, Breyden.
About me.
Tell me about how you first got into, I guess, like your nerd life, or how you got into comic books, that sort of thing. Let's hear that origin story.
Oh man, how I got into the nerd life? I don't think I ever was not in it. Like the whole comic book thing. Me and my friends were huge Marvel nerds back in the day, like in middle school. Because when I was in middle school, that's when those movies were like coming out, So we would all try and create our own superheroes and stuff to like come up with stories, and we would draw them. And I think from there, like the love for nerd stuff just never stopped. Like I just started collecting. It started as superheroes, and then I went to like I love Ghostbusters. You see that back there, all these '80s movies, old monsters and stuff, comic books, and I just it turned into me wanting to learn how to make that kind of cool stuff. So I spent some time learning how to write and draw, and now I do comic books.
Nice, dude. Love it.
Yeah, I think like it's funny to see, like, because we've had like older guests and younger guests, and it's interesting to see that the Marvel movies, doesn't matter if it's just the MCU, it could be the Spider-Man like 2002 movie. It's always a starting point for a lot of people. It's always like, I watched Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire, and that's how it started up again. And I think it's always interesting, like those movies, like, some people can say like, oh, they're formulaic, or like, oh, they become repetitive. It's still a good entry point. Like, you're ignoring the fact that like the industry you love is getting more love because of those movies.
If I had to point to a movie like that, like to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man or something, the movie I would point to and be like, that's the one that I love the vibe of the most, it was probably Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice.
I think I saw that one like 4 or 5 times in theaters, and it's like it's a party. The music is awesome. It's got this like retro kind of cowboy space western vibe, and that's like if I could create something that's like even gets close to that level of just fun, awesome adventure, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great pick. I think that for me, that's like, after all these MCU movies and stuff, that's still like in my top 3. It's got to be. You talk about it all the time. We talk about Guardians probably more than any other Marvel project. What do you think, Christian?
I think so, and it's interesting for me because like someone asked me like, "Oh, what was the Marvel movie that really got you into it?" And I think for me, Guardians was the one that kind of like told me like, "Oh, they don't all have to be the same." It also like I love, and I always say this like when people are like, "Oh, we don't know who these people are. Why am I gonna watch this movie?" That's any movie. That's just how movies work. You go to watch like no one went into Fight Club saying like, "Oh yeah, gonna watch Tyler Durden." No, you just walk into a movie and you figure out who people are, and I think that's a big like thing that people were like, "Who are the Eternals even? Who's Shang-Chi?" Just watch the movie, man. You'll get it. And Guardians of the Galaxy was the defining like, like, hey, you don't have to care who these people are. You'll care later on.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone knew who like everyone had at least heard of like Hulk and Iron Man walking into those movies because like they're huge in the comics, but nobody knows the Guardians of the Galaxy. Um, but the way James Gunn can just take a bunch of nobody characters and make something awesome with them, like he did it with Guardians of the Galaxy, he did it with Suicide Squad, Peacemaker. All those were incredible, and I can't wait for the third Guardians movie.
No, it's funny because like if you ask me like how'd you get into it, like I feel like I just started watching the movies and I was like, well, I guess I'm a part of this now.
Yeah.
It's no going back. There was no like, oh my god, Iron Man was great. It was just like I watched them as separate movies and then it's just like, oh, these are all together. Cool. I guess we're in there. And then
You're along
Guardians
for the
came
ride.
out. Yeah, Guardians came out and I was like, okay, I can. The music's great because they went as far as like you watch like Avengers, great movie, like the original Avengers. It was just a movie that was cool, but Guardians, like you can tell that they were like, okay, let's think of the soundtrack. Let's think of every single detail in this movie, so later on because people buy the soundtrack. I don't think people are going out and buying the Civil War soundtrack on vinyl.
I have
Good point.
I have it on vinyl. Hold on.
Dude, I love it. No, dude, Christian, while he's grabbing that, you're 100% right. That's got to be like the only superhero movie soundtrack that people actually.
Look
And
at that.
there's been so many different
On
reprints
vinyl.
of it too. Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
It really sold more than just like 2 hours in the movie theater. It sold
Right.
you like you are now gonna buy everything. You're gonna buy the. It was a vibe. Oh my god, that's beautiful.
It's got the
Wow.
mask printed on it. Yeah.
That is cool. I feel like I've seen like 10 different versions of Awesome Mix Volume 1 on vinyl. That's so crazy. But
And so far, just watching the trailers, Awesome Mix Volume 3 is gonna be out of this world.
that's
Oh,
true.
man.
That's true. He does. I mean, that's what
need
he
it.
does, right? He plugs in his Zune and he just listens and tries to get the vibe of whatever project
I like
he's
the fact that
working
it's.
on.
I like the fact that it's a soon more than anything.
It's James. I mean, he might have like Spotify, but he's probably rocking that Zune, you know.
But yeah, no,
Is
Guardians is like.
Is that a real thing? I've never even heard of that.
I used to have a Zune. But it was like the last model they ever did, I think. But
I think I had like an iPod Shuffle.
nice.
That was the oldest that I went.
I had like the little clip-on iPod, like the little really small
no
one.
screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also had the one that was long, like it was like a pill.
Yeah.
Like a USB drive.
Never had that one. Yeah.
Oh no,
All
my
right.
dad. I'm sorry. Let's get back into it.
Well, no,
Breyden,
no. So, I was
good
just gonna
movie
say,
pick.
So
Thank
I
you.
guess so Brayden, like what were like the first I guess like superheroes you fell in love with? Because you talked about Guardians from the MCU side, but when it comes to like other media or comics themselves, like what was like the first like character that you fell in love with or whatever?
First character I fell in love with, the first one I fell in love with, probably Spider-Man, which I feel like is a common thread for a lot of kids, because he's the kid superhero. You know, it's hard for kids to relate to like a billionaire or things like that. But for a superhero who's a kid and in school, that's relatable and he's fun and funny and always a good time.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that sets him apart is like you had kid superheroes before, but they were like Robin. It's like a sidekick. He's just there to sort of like assist. But Spider-Man was like the first. I mean, at least in my brain, there was like his own thing. And my favorite thing is that he always fucks up, he never does things perfectly. It was never
Mhm.
like, wow, he's the perfect kid. No, he's a kid. He's emotional. He's reactive, and he will mess up, and that's what makes him so relatable.
And that's a good thing for a character to have too. Is not not a Superman does everything right all the time. Like they have flaws, and yeah, they don't get things right all the time.
Yeah, it's like people can like make the argument like, oh, he's the strongest. I don't care how strong he is. He's just like he reminds me of me in some levels.
Mm.
That's what I like about him.
I'll tell you who my favorite superhero is now, though. Um, my favorite superhero now is Doctor Strange, um, and I it's well, first of all, who doesn't love like crazy magic magician powers, like flying around shooting bands of Flagnar or whatever that guy's called, the Crimson Bands of something, and the ability to warp time and all these like cool effects. Um, but he's also cool because I can kind of relate to his story. Like you mentioned earlier, how I had to make this transition from being an artist to a writer because I developed a disease called Sharp syndrome, which creates this inflammation in my knuckles basically and makes it difficult to like draw with a pencil. Um, and a similar thing happened with Doctor Strange, where he like, I mean, it's the same body part too. Like he messed up his hands in a car wreck and wasn't able to do brain surgery anymore. Um, so that which led him to become the Sorcerer Supreme, which was really like touching to me because it was like when I was freaking out about not being able to draw, I just thought of Doctor Strange and I was like, well, maybe this is how I'm supposed to get where I need to go. Maybe I may not be able to be the best brain surgeon anymore, but I can be the Sorcerer Supreme, which for me ended up being writing, because I write with this little headset that I've got on right now. I just talk into it and it comes out on the page in front of me. So that's why I love
Um,
Doctor Strange. It means something to me personally.
that's good. I mean, I feel like yeah, we have characters that we love, but like deep inside, even if we don't notice, we do have characters that we relate to. I mean, I say that like Peter Parker was a loser, and then I think my girlfriend said like, nah, Peter Parker thinks he's a loser. He
Self
gets like,
confidence.
yeah, he gets all the girls. He's good at sports out of nowhere, and I was like, I guess I do relate to that feeling of him feeling like alienated from everything else. So it's nice that you found not like oh, I have this like debilitating thing, but looking at it like, oh, this is leading me towards something better. Which
Yeah.
I mean, it's inspiring on its own. Even if you take Doctor Strange out of the equation, you could have given up.
Yeah,
But
for sure. A lot of not to like toot your own horn, but it's very like emotionally mature to like look at it that way. Like I don't know what I would do if I don't know if I couldn't do like the thing that I was passionate about. But yeah, absolutely, just turning it into something else. And what you were
Mm.
already writing before, right? Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah? So
Um,
gotcha.
yeah. And for a while, it wasn't so easy to like make that transition. Because like I had my identity kind of revolved around drawing. And at that point, I thought of myself as more of an artist than a writer. Like I was looking for potential writers to work with. Um, but now that I've been practicing my writing a lot more, I do like it a whole lot better because it's where like the actual storytelling takes place, and I think that's really what I was looking for with this whole comic book thing. The art obviously can add so much, but the plot itself, that like what makes those stories so good. That's where the writer comes.
I
Right, you're
mean,
in full control. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes
not
sense.
only that, we go back to like you can watch a movie from like the 1940s that looks awful. Not saying they all look awful, but you can watch one that looks awful. But if the story's great, I'm
It's
gonna enjoy
timeless.
it. I
Right.
mean, we play like PlayStation 1 video games that really suck. Like they're the worst thing ever, but like the story is timeless.
Yeah, you always remember the story, right? Yep, absolutely. So
So
I
I think
guess we're kind of like dancing around it, but so Shape Comics, right?
Mhm.
Can you just tell us, like, for those that aren't know, because Christian and I, we obviously did our homework, right? We know all about Shape Comics, but
Right.
for our audience, could you explain, I guess, like a little bit about Shape Comics, maybe some of the series that you guys have that you're working on?
Yeah. So Shape Comics is straight up indie comic books. It's two guys, me and Anthony. I write, he draws, and we tell stories and make comic books and put them out there. It kind of started as like just two guys. Like we met on Instagram. We've never met in person actually.
Me,
He
me
lives
and
in
Christian haven't
California.
met either. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. The internet is crazy, and how you can do that. But we've never met in person. He lives in California. I live in Oklahoma. Different sides of the, well, not opposite, but very far away parts of the country. But we found each other on Instagram, and we realized we were kind of doing the same thing, which is making, at the time I was still drawing and making our own comics and trying to get them out there. And so we were like, hey, what if we do this together? Um, kind of a grow together thing. So that's what it's been. We've put out 5 comics so far. Put out 4. We're having our Kickstarter for the 5th right now, Shape Man #3. And our goal with Shape Comics is to just we use it as kind of a launch pad for ourselves, like something that people can follow online and keep up with what we're doing. The ultimate goal would be to publish through someone like Image Comics or one of these big publishers, and get a story out with them. That would be awesome. But yeah, that's what Shape Comics is.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it. So like I was gonna ask you about, like your, I guess, Shape Comics and like your future aspirations. So
Mhm.
that is interesting to hear that. I mean, I could totally see like Shape Comics being like an imprint under Image. I mean, that would be super cool.
That would be
Um,
awesome.
yeah, that. So I guess like so I some of the characters that I was looking up, maybe you could tell me a little bit more about like the actual characters themselves that Shape
Mhm.
Comics has created, because I think they're super unique, and I don't know, you guys just have such an eye for design, and of course it harkens back to like the art style that you're kind of pulling from, using as inspiration. But I don't know if you could just tell us a little bit more about the actual characters you guys have, because I think they're awesome.
Yeah. So our big one is of course Shape Man, kind of the namesake. Yes, the namesake of Shape Comics. Um, He is a shape-shifting superhero. He crash lands on Earth, and he's not sure like where he is or how he got there. And he's not really even sure what he is, because as a shapeshifter, he can kind of take on any form. And so the story is about him kind of trying to figure out what his true form is, like what his identity is going to be in this world, that he doesn't know what the heck is going on. So the opening scene with him, he's moving through the woods. He transforms into different animals. Like he sees a bird, transforms into the bird, and the bird flies away. Um, and then he keeps going. He sees a bear, transforms into the bear, and then the bear runs away. Um, and then the first thing that doesn't run away from him is this little girl named Hazel. And from that moment on in the story, she's kind of like teaching him. It's kind of like an Iron Giant situation, with like what's his name, Hogarth, that
Like
that kid.
yeah, Hogarth.
It's
I
like
think
that.
it is Hogarth.
Yeah, some goofy name, but with that kid and the Iron Giant, it's kind of a very. I love that movie, and I think I maybe snatched some inspiration from it when I wrote this. But
Inspiration's okay.
yeah,
No, but listen. If you're gonna pull and get inspired by anything, Iron Giant is like, I mean,
it's
that's
so
just
good,
perfect.
man.
You know what I mean? That
It's
Yeah,
so
it's
good.
I'm
to this day
I don't
my
know if the
favorite
camera
animated
can pick
movie.
it up, but I'm tearing up a little bit just thinking about it,
Hmm.
dude.
Favorite movie? Well, yeah, it might be my favorite movie. Definitely like top 5. That's so good.
It's my favorite animated movie for sure. I mean, I
Yeah,
Definitely
think that's
animated.
For sure.
don't think
I
that's
think
ever gonna
easy
change.
animated, it clears it so much harder. But anyways, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
But
good. I was about at the end of my thought. He's a shape-shifting superhero who gets taught by a little girl how to be more human, kind of like Iron Giant. So um, that's our main character. We're finishing up his third issue, and then that's going to kind of wrap up this little story arc we've got him on. So we're probably going to put him on the shelf for a little bit once that wraps up, and move on to I want to start a new series, more of a sci-fi horror thing. But that's that's that's
future plans. Yeah,
future.
yeah.
That's yeah.
You know, we're not looking for any scoops here. Yeah, so you definitely got to
Right.
keep some stuff close to your vest. No, dude, I think that's awesome. I think, you know, like I said, I think Shape Man is just so cool, and you know, just learning more about him like through your TikTok, it's just been awesome. I think as soon as Christian and I discovered you, you know, this was back like before we even started the podcast. We're like, dude, we got to talk to this guy at some point. So you know, just very glad you're on and you spread the good word about Shape Man. I think he's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I'm also glad, just real quick, Christian. I'm glad that it doesn't sound like it's the end for Shape Man's story. On the shelf, that makes a lot of sense. You know, you got a lot of stuff to work on. But yeah, I think definitely he's so cool. You got to bring him back. That's all I'll say. But
I think. Sorry, you can go ahead. Oh,
No,
okay.
no.
I think if I do bring him back, I may reboot the story a little bit and kind of like make hit the themes a little bit harder. I think because it was the first story I ever wrote, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I think if I could clean it up and maybe kind of revise it, I think a Shape Man V2 will be very nice.
I think the thing that got me about the story, other than like the art, which I will get into after this, is that like it's sort of this like Miss Marvel kind of thing of like you have the ability to like change yourself,
Mm.
and through that, like sometimes you don't know who you really are, and it's I mean, like we were talking about Spider-Man relating to something. I think relating to not knowing who you are fully is it's a beautiful thing, you know. I mean, like I feel like we all go through those moments of like, yeah, you know who you are, maybe morally or like a vague idea, but finding like your passions and all that. I think maybe that's the thing that people like about the character. I mean, other than the art, which the compliment I'll give you about the art is simple as like you're going for more of a retro look, right?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to grab a look like that and make it your own because a lot of times it just feels like you're making a retro book, you know. But this feels like its own thing. It does, you know. I've never been like, oh yeah, no, this is definitely just remaking a comic book from the 50s. No, you're like grabbing the style, sure, and just creating characters that feel unique. And it, even though like you know, Calico Kid is like a western, you know, old timey, it does feel modern in a certain way. Like looking at the page, just
Yeah.
looking at the cover itself, and I like that a lot. And something I do want to talk about is TikTok because I mean that's how we found you at least, and I think it's been interesting. It's you know you're going for Kickstarters, but I do feel like it'll get to a point where like Kickstarter won't be necessary. You know, like it's I've seen it grow. I mean, I remember when like Shape Man was like about to come out, issue number 1. And just like seeing the climate, like not only followers, but like you do lives like drawing the cover of you know, Shape Man 2, and people jump in, and it's
Mm-hmm.
questions and questions and questions, and it's never ending. And I think that's great. I wanted to know your opinion on maybe TikTok as not only like a creative genre, but a community based start for your company.
Oh yeah, TikTok is like the reason we've been able to do all this. It's where we've been able to grow our audience. The first video I posted about my characters and Shape Man was like when I was redrawing them for the first time, and I like busted them out of this old binder. I have it down here or somewhere. Um, but the middle school drawings, I busted them out and redrew them like in the old comic book style. And that was very popular. I did not expect it to like do that. I was kind of just doing it for fun. And then from there, people were like, "Hey, you should make a comic book with this," and I was like, "I I could do that." Um, so we made a comic book. We made a second one, and we made a third one, and we made a Discord, and people have been able to hop in there and share their opinions about Shape Man and the other comics, and even pitch their ideas for their own characters and share what they're working on and the art that they're making and what they're writing. And it's just kind of we've been able to foster a community of passionate people who love kind of doing the same thing that we all love doing, and it's been great getting to hang out with those guys.
Must have been interesting because like I didn't think anyone would ever care to listen to me talk for an hour. Not that we have a million watchers, but like, hey, to you 50 people watching at home, we love you. But it was interesting. Like me and Cody were like friends, and then like someone said like, "Hey, you guys would do good at this thing," and I was like, I don't think anyone would really care. And I think it really started as like an experiment. It was like, hey, let's just talk for an hour, put it out there. People like it, great. If not, also, what do we lose? And
Right.
it's interesting that you grabbed something that you just did as a kid for fun and were like, oh, let me post it. And then I was like,
So Brayden, with your permission, would it be cool if we put those old ones and kind of show like the evolution?
Oh
Because
yeah.
I just think it's so, because I'm sure I've got like old I'm sure I've got like old comics and stuff that I worked on, but they're all gotta be just the worst possible as far as quality wise. But I mean, in yours, you can see like the building blocks. Like even at that young age, like you still understood like I don't know, like what like I guess like a hero's costume. Like that what looks good and what doesn't. Like even in those old pictures, I thought it was so awesome. Like seeing those, and just like the
Yeah.
way it's evolved, I think it's awesome. You
Mhm.
still have that. You still have those attributes that uh, you came up with when you were a kid, but it's just in this awesome new art style. You got a ton of new experience. Um, I just think it's awesome. So, like, with your permission, I'd like to show kind of like the evolution because I just think it's awesome.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely.
and I wanted
Nice.
to ask about, I know you guys did a one shot Calico Kid. I want to know a little bit more about that because I personally haven't had the chance to read it.
Yeah.
And I will. And then there's a third one, which I hope you know it's my favorite, but it's also the only one whose name I don't know.
A third one?
Yeah, the space one, the space.
Oh,
Sonic
Sonic Saturn.
Saturn.
Yeah,
That
Yeah,
this one.
that's
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
just on a cover level. I'm like, that's all I need.
Yeah, his character design is really cool too. Yeah. Um, I don't know if you could tell us more about Calico Kid in Sonic Saturn. Those guys are dope.
Yeah. Those are Anthony's characters. He could probably tell you a lot more about them than I could, but Calico Kid is I like to describe him as if Batman was a cowboy. He's very much like a Zorro type, dressed in black, rides a like a dark horse, black horse, and fights crime. And like in the first issue, he fights like a local gang, the Mayview family or Mayview gang, and it's just a fun story, kind of a classic superhero hero kind of story. And the big thing about Calico Kid is that it was Anthony's first comic that he ever put out, and he uh, really just uh, made it because he had this character also, kind of like how I had Shape Man, and he just wanted to make something, um, get something out there. That's why it's a one shot, and it's probably not going to be a continued series. Um, but Sonic Saturn is the one that he wants to focus on now, and that is another kind of cowboy vibe, but in outer space. So we were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy earlier. It's it's got some. I like to think it has some Guardians of the Galaxy vibes, or like Cowboy Bebop or something like that. Um, Sonic Saturn is a engineer who works in outer space, and he is sent to this like his home base picks up on an anomaly out in space, and they send him out to like go see what's up, and it ends up being a black hole. So he gets sucked into it, launched across space, and crash lands on an alien planet filled with monsters such as a giant purple worm, um, and he has to survive. And I don't know if that's going to be the story. This was also like an intro issue. I think he may be like reworking it into a new. I think he wants to do like a 12-issue series or something with it, but he's rethinking it, I think. And yeah, I if you want to know more about it, definitely ask him. He's the mind behind it.
But I think that's cool. I mean, you have two types of characters, which are like, hey, this is just a cool guy, you know, he like in outer space, which is like on its own, like me looking at it, I'm like, I'll read that. And then you have Shape Man, who is not only like a cool concept and like the art style, like just immediately grabs you, but if you really like think about it, it's relatable. That's my thing. I mean, I can't really relate to Batman, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and if I could, I'd be scared of myself.
Yeah.
But relating to Shape Man, like I was thinking about it today. I was like, okay, getting ready for work, and I was like, we're gonna do this interview. It's gonna be cool. And they talk about Shape Man, and I was like, he doesn't know who he is. And I sat
Messed
down.
up, dude.
I had to sit down for a second and be like, do I know who I am?
Have an
Dude,
existential
that-
crisis. Yeah.
That's what okay, I would say Anthony is more of the action, like bing bang boom type guy, like a historical kind of comic book would be, like very heavy emphasis on action, getting to the punch, you know, cowboys shooting at each other and spaceships fighting monsters, all that stuff. That's his vibe, which I love too. I think what I like to put into my stories is like a deeper kind of philosophy or theme about humanity or whatever, as kind of the like the foundation, you could say, and then I build on top of that. So like the cool fight scenes will come, but it's all grounded in this theme that I'm trying to push. So with Shape Man, of course, it's you know who am I? And everything that kind of happens is it kind of points back to him and his journey, you know, uh, figuring out who he is.
I mean, and that's like I think people forget that comic books really are not just like, I mean, for kids first of all, but they're more than just like the fights. I mean, like the amount of times I've been reading like a Donny Cates book, and like he wrote Thor right now, and it's like oh cool, Thor's fighting a giant monster. He's also really really depressed.
Yeah.
And I like that. It makes it human, even though Shape Man's not human. Like his most human quality is not knowing who he is.
Mm-hmm. He like in at the end of that scene where he's like traversing through the woods, turning into different animals, it ends with him like watching the sunrise, just appreciating these little parts
Beautiful.
of life that humans appreciate. So even the whole time, really, he's an like biologically, I guess you could say he's an alien, but really the whole time he's a human in like the sense that he's like a person with a soul who appreciates the little things in life, and just a little goofball, and it's just about him finding that. So he's that the whole time, and I think that's kind of true of any of us, but he's got to figure that out.
So you, Christian mentioned like Donny Cates, right? So I'm very interested to know like what are some of, I guess, like the comic writers that you look to for, I guess, inspiration or influence. Are there like, is it more like just is it some modern stuff, or is it mostly just like the classics or whatever?
For art, obviously, we look at the old guys because our style is old. But for writing, I like to look at a lot more of the new guys. I do not read as much as I should. I actually get a lot of my inspiration from watching movies and TV because like movies and TV is basically comics with motion and sound. Um, but the writers that I have clung on to and really admired are Alan Moore, of course. You know, when we're talking about deeper meanings in stories like Watchmen, that's a great analysis on the superhero genre. V for Vendetta, obviously. Uh, he's just a great writer. Knows how to do it. I've been really enjoying Brian K.
Vaughn?
Vaughan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vaughn. Yeah.
Brian K. Vaughan. Great. I've been reading Paper Girls. And those are the two I can point to right now. Like I said, I need to read more. As someone who makes
you're in
comics, I do
college,
not.
right? Like,
Yeah.
It's a constant struggle. Like, listen, I studied film, and I constantly say I don't watch enough movies. Like, I'll be totally candid right now, and my girlfriend does not agree with me on this, but at least on Letterboxd, I only watched 21 movies last year, which, like, for a film student is like a crazy low number.
So you're a film student then?
Yeah, I graduated film school in 2021.
I'm studying film and media studies right now.
There you go. It's fun. It's really fun.
I did
and
computer
terrifying.
science, so it's nothing even close to you guys talking about. But no,
That's
so
okay.
I mean, to your point, like, you know, you might think you don't read enough, but I mean, it sounds like you have like that foundation, you know, all like the greatest hits that everyone says you have to read or whatever. And then, I mean, beyond that, I didn't start getting, you know, super heavy into collecting until I graduated. So that's just how it is.
I've been reading for a year. I mean,
Yeah.
reading. I started reading when I was like 5, or I don't know when you start reading as a kid. But reading comics last
Right.
a year.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
me and Christian, you know, we wear it on our sleeve. Like we aren't that you know, we haven't been in the comic game for, you know, decades and decades. Like we are, you know, 2 years or whatever since we actually started, you know, heavily getting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
think-
know much about comics. I'm just really good at lying. So
Yeah, Christian hasn't opened a comic this whole time. He just has a comic podcast about it or whatever.
He just downloaded all of the information he needs into his brain so he can.
Yeah, exactly.
Spark notes. Oh, Spider-Man guy under the mask. Great. No, he is. But no, I mean, I understand the struggle even as an artist, like as a creator. Like people will be like in film, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's like a Citizen Kane vibe," and I'm like, "Yes,
Yeah,
a movie I had certainly watched."
I haven't.
You didn't
seen
have to
it.
watch that for class.
Me
dude? You didn't
neither. I
watch that
have
for
never
class. or
watched it.
anything?
No, I don't. You don't have to know all of it. Hey, Cody, you do you know every computer? No.
Yeah, I guess, but
Bad
I
computer
just thought
science student.
maybe it's like the new wave film teachers. They don't want to show Citizen Kane. They've been playing that damn movie for decades. Probably like want
Grandpa
to show
movie.
something else, you know.
But I mean, I was gonna say to you, I mean, you mentioned Alan Moore, which like it's like the father of making stories like super like deep. I mean, I've struggled so much with reading Swamp Thing because like sometimes I just want to disconnect my brain from the world, and then I sit down and I'm like, oh, this monster's sad too.
Oh
I
man,
can't read this.
Yeah, like sometimes you're not looking for deep, right? Maybe Alan Moore is not the. That's a good point.
But that's the thing. Shape Man is like it has that layer of deep, like a foundation, but it's like, hey, fighting bad guys.
yeah.
Here you go.
I think that's important. It's something that like Steven Spielberg does in his movies, where there's always this like underlying. Usually, it's like something to do with family, but he's got the theme that he builds on top of, but it's always like a fun, like you finish the movie and you feel good. It's not a depressing movie. Like they're like E.T. It's you know, below the surface. It's like a story about, you know,
Reese's Pieces. Yeah.
It's
well,
just friendship, man.
yeah,
It's
it's
beautiful.
friendship. unlikely friends and welcoming people in. But above that, it's like it's the Reese's Pieces, and it's you know hanging out with an alien, having fun, which is I think actually that fits the description of Shape Man, hanging out with an alien and having fun. So
Look
yeah,
at that.
it's a
Full
good balance.
circle somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how I got there.
I do want to ask, and probably like the thing that I've been thinking about this entire 40 minutes of conversation is like you really found someone to work with that has almost the exact style. Like if you didn't tell me Anthony existed, not to like talk shit about him, he's great. I thought it was just like one person. I mean, on on the surface level, I was like, these all look the same to me.
That's another reason we met up, like on Instagram. Like we were obviously doing the same things, but we were really doing the same things because he also liked the retro style. So it just kind of made sense. And now, like I drew issue 1 of Shape Man, and he's drawing. We kind of teamed up on issue 2. Like he did the bulk of the art, but I helped out. And then issue 3 is all him doing the art. So it's this interesting transition, but it's a smooth transition
Oh,
because it's the same style, really.
Yeah, like it probably, if you just read them sequentially, you probably won't even, if you probably won't even know, right? I mean, the styles fit so seamlessly.
oh, and I do want to say like to anyone listening, like I think this is a great example of like you can just do whatever you want, you know? Like yeah, you want to make a movie, you think you don't have like the tools, you do. It's not gonna be like maybe like you can film it with an iPhone and it's not gonna be like yeah sure it's not gonna look like a movie, but you start growing, you know. I mean this started with a middle school drawing, and now it's a thing, and I think that's something that I've struggled with a lot, like being like oh yeah my camera is only worth this much and not this much. You just gotta film things, you know. And
I
I think
know.
it's inspiring to a certain degree, you know.
But
So
I
you
will
like
say though, it's definitely easier to do it with a person for sure.
Oh yeah.
So like you brought it up like just the fact that TikTok has kind of led to the Discord community and everything's kind of everybody just loves what you're doing. Kind of similar to that. So like Christian and I, we started I guess like a comic book group. It kind of sounds somewhat similar to your journey, but now it's just like a bunch of TikTok comic book creators all hanging out in the Discord, sharing tips and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, to your point earlier, Brayden, like just the community that I've got through TikTok and all these different social medias has been great. Find like-minded people like Christian. You get crazy enough to start a podcast, I guess.
yeah, and we're gonna meet actually, which is
yeah. So like we're going to our first comic book convention or whatever. So Christian and I are gonna hit it up, dude. We're gonna
Nice.
It's gonna get pretty crazy. I don't know if people are ready because we're gonna be like little demons on the show floor or whatever.
That's awesome.
So I guess Brayden, a good question for you. Like, do you guys plan on like hitting up like a bunch of cons or something? Or I don't know if that's something that you've done in the past, or is that like nice.
I go to a lot of cons in the area, like surrounding states. Mostly Oklahoma, a little bit in Texas, but I'll probably kind of be taking this year kind of off, as it'll be kind of a building year for me personally. I'll be finishing Shape Man, and then I'd like to get the next one like really written before I start, you know, get, getting it out there, I guess. But ideally, like it, I mean, I would prefer to be like able to see Anthony, but it is kind of nice that we're on different parts of the country because he can kind of tackle the West Coast and I can kind of hit the middle. I guess the East Coast just can piss off or whatever. But
That's our area.
Yeah,
we can-
we can piss
yeah,
off.
there you go.
We don't.
we can divide and conquer Comic Cons, and so I would like to get a whole bunch on the list for the future. I want to go to like Chicago and Denver and
We are going to
Fan
Chicago. I don't know if I
Expo.
said that, but we're going to Chicago, so that should be cool. C2E2. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
C2E2.
If I see another human being, I'll be like, "Hey, this guy makes comics.
Hey, all right, there you go.
You should go follow him."
So I
Walk
guess
around.
like something I wanted to touch on. I hope it doesn't come off as mean spirited to other indie comic creators or whatever. But I don't know. You guys just have like such a nice clean package. Like if someone told me that it wasn't indie, I might believe. Like if someone told me like, oh yeah, it's Shape Man's over at Image, like I might believe them just because your product is so clean and it's so well thought out. Like everything that you guys are doing, like we said, like the art styles are just they're so unique. It's something you don't see in modern comics unless you look really hard, I guess. But so I don't know. I just want to like commend you guys for just having like I don't know the product itself is just so well thought out, and I don't think you guys will have trouble finding success in the future. Like I totally I'm here for it. I believe you guys will succeed in anything you do because I don't know. You guys just really seem like you got a good head on your shoulders, and um, I don't know. It's all unique. It's all uniform, and Christian said it too. Like the cover alone. I mean, who's not going to buy that comic? You know what I mean? So if you show
Yeah.
up to a con with a trunk full of Shape Man comics, dude, those things will be flying off the shelf. I bet, man.
Yeah, that's what I always say. They're like, "Oh, like never judge a book by its cover." It's the one thing I do. I judge every book by its cover.
It's hard not to,
Right.
because if it's got a lame cover, especially for a comic book, like I understand for like a novel, but for a comic book, if it's got a lame cover that doesn't really draw you in, what's to say like the rest of the comic's not going to be kind of lame? So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
But thank you for complimenting the vibes that we put out. We pride ourselves on our vibes. Retro.
I don't know.
Well, you should put that. You should put that in like the bio. Shape Comics. We pride ourselves in our vibes.
Yeah,
We got the best vibes.
retro vibes for days.
And the only thing I'll add to that, Brayden, is just I don't want to pat you back too much, but you're 20 years old. Is that right, or does the website need to be updated? Are you actually 21 years old? 21. Okay.
Yeah, we need to give our website some TLC, but 21. I can drink legally.
Nice. Okay.
Good.
But no, I mean that's just crazy because I'm about to turn 25, right? And Christian and I, we got this color break thing going, and we got a couple projects that are under wraps. I don't know if we're not gonna leak them here, but
I got some hints earlier.
Nice. It's just so weird to me. Like, I can't imagine like starting a comic book company at 21. I just think that's super impressive.
Anthony is 25, I think. So
Gotcha.
but I mean, I feel like anyone in their 20s, to me at least, is kind of on like a, I don't want to say like the same ground, but like we're all young people who have things that we're interested in and are interested in pursuing and trying to, make our own like paths forward, I guess. So I think I got lucky enough that I realized what it was that I wanted to pursue earlier in my life, like when I was 19 or 20. And that's just what I'm doing. So
Yeah, nice.
I'm glad you did. So now we have Shape Comics, and honestly, I think it's just gonna keep doing great. I mean, like, I'm gonna say you're gonna like get the Kickstarter for sure. That doesn't mean people shouldn't do it. Please go.
Link in the bio. I mean,
link in the bio.
Go ahead. But like, it's interesting when you like look at a project and like the Kickstarter comes out, and you can immediately be like, yeah, that's gonna work out.
Right. It's like, I mean, so let me ask you this, Braid. So, like, how is like the response been to like this Kickstarter specifically? Like, as it looks like as soon as you guys started up, like people started showing out
Yeah.
and supporting you guys. Is that kind of similar to how it's been, or is this one just totally off the hinges?
The first comic we did a Kickstarter for was Sonic Saturn. Before that, we just like launched them on our website and did pre-orders through there. But then we decided to do Kickstarter because it's easier and easier to find and stuff. Sonic Saturn did well. I think in terms of like it's been 5 days since we launched. I think in terms of that time frame, Shape Man is ahead. Um, I think uh, let's see, Sonic Saturn. I think we ended with our goal was like 4,000 for that one because it was going to be a bigger issue. It was like uh, 30 or 40 pages, um, and we made like over 5,000. Someone donated $1,000.
Crazy. I mean, listen, yeah.
For so yeah, I think I'm not sure how the Shaman Kickstarter will turn out, but it's definitely looking pretty promising. We're already over halfway, which is nice, to our goal. So I think we'll hit it, and I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, 5 days for halfway through is not bad at all.
Yeah,
and I think this is indie like to the max.
yeah.
Yeah,
This is
like you guys have some pretty good incentives too. So I would really encourage our audience to definitely check out that link and definitely support what you guys are doing. But
okay,
yeah,
that's anything I do want to ask before we end it. I mean, I know we've been talking about the Kickstarter, but anything you want to like really get out there and promote something. I mean, your TikTok, all that, it'll be in the bio, but for people who are driving and can't type it out.
Well, no, I mean, we say this all the time, Christian. If you're on the highway going 90, bro, stop what you're doing and support this guy's Kickstarter, man.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're on the highway going 60, whatever speed you're going at on the highway right now.
Definitely just, don't worry about the other people on the road. Give this guy your money on the Kickstarter. No, but I think Christian's got a good point. So definitely, as we look to end this episode here, definitely, any this is your time your platform. You got anything to share for the people beyond the Kickstarter?
Sure. So if you want to follow me on social media, it's Breyden Boyd, BreydenBoyd with the @ in front of it on basically every platform.
Yeah.
And you can follow along with what I'm doing. Like I said before, Shape Man #3 will be the last comic in the Shape Man series that we're doing before we put it away for a little bit to move on to some new series. And I will be working on a sci-fi horror series, an extended one, hopefully several like trades of this comic. Should I tell you what it's about? I don't know yet.
No, I mean, you don't have. Listen, if you tell us, we're definitely gonna clip it and post it everywhere. But you don't have to. You know what I mean?
Keep it if you want.
Well, okay. Maybe I'll tell you in private, and then
gotcha. After we hit stop, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then maybe later down the line, whenever it's closer to launch.
For sure. You have an open invite to join the pod anytime you want. Anytime you got anything to promote, just jump on. No worries.
Cool. Yeah.
So, thank you for creating comics. That's all
Absolutely.
I have to say. Cody, you got anything to say?
You're very welcome.
Nah, man. Only thing I'll say is definitely support Breyden and all of his Shape Comics endeavors. I really like what you guys got going on. Like Christian said, you got great vibes. But yeah, I think that'll do it for us. This was issue number 15 of Color Break, your third favorite comic book podcast. I'm Cody Collects. That's Comic Book Stash. Again, I'm just gonna say it one more time. Follow the links down below. Give Brayden all your money. That's it.
Follow Color Break.
Thank you, Brayden. Appreciate it.